Oh, there are running backs. You're going to hear from Chris Halleck in Indianapolis at the NFL Scouting Combine today about all the running backs and where they rank in this draft hierarchy. And the local team is very much interested in this position in that process. I got something else to bring up first. Good afternoon to you. Good Thursday afternoon. I'm Dejan Kovacevic of DK Pittsburgh Sports. This is the new Double Shot Show. Comes your way every weekday afternoon. Najee Harris seemed to close the book on the Steelers after the playoff game in Baltimore. I was there with him. I asked him a couple of questions related to his imminent future. By that, I meant just, his next employer and so forth. And sometimes that'll get a player to bite back. Hey, I'm not gone yet, or all my doors are open. No. I mean, he couldn't have made it clearer that either he knew they didn't want him or he knew that he wanted to go somewhere else. I'm not going any further than that. I'm not going to get into mind reading. Similarly, when I've spoken to people within the Steelers, and I'm not talking about the ones who say, and all the right things, it's just, oh yeah, we're open to everything. Yeah, Najee this, Najee that. I'm talking about behind the scenes. Okay. They speak of Najee as if he's gone, and they speak openly about drafting a running back. Now, you know what I'm always saying about, don't listen to what they say, watch what they do. I can see one scenario in which Najee would stay, and that would be that he goes out onto the open market and just says, wow, really? Like, that's it? That's all anybody wants to pay? A running back my age who, for better or worse, getting 1,000 yards a season. Some look down on that. Some think it's awesome. Some see it as a sign of consistency. If he goes out there and sees that this is not grass that's greener, he can come back to the Steelers. He wouldn't be the first to do that. Remember that was a Kevin Colbert staple. That's something that KC loved to do. He would actually encourage guys because they or their agents would have these crazy figures in their heads about what their client was worth or what they themselves were worth. And then he would say, you know what? Go ahead out there. If you see something better, come back to us. Let us know what that figure is. We'll decide if we want to match it. Seems like an honest, open tactic. He's not BSing anybody. He's not trying to lock them up before they become available. Just saying, listen, we're going to pay you what you're worth, but you go right ahead and find out what it is that you're worth. I don't see it. And the funny thing is, the one part of this that I can't come to grips with, or else I would never even bring this up based on everything else that I've heard, is that they can say this. They can say, Najee's not this, Najee's not that. We're going in a different direction. But then you watch them deploy their running backs through the entire season, right up till the end. You watch how they utilize them. Najee might as well have been number one to the final handoff of the entire season. And that's the part I'm not going to lie to you here. I've never been able to make sense of that one.
At DK Pittsburgh Sports, we take pride in coverage that connects our city's fans to their favorite teams. Now, that connection's stronger than ever. Introducing our all-new state-of-the-art app. Find expert inside reporting and original podcasts. Check live box scores. Track the latest stats. Chat it up with our community of thousands of fans, all in one place. The new app from DK Pittsburgh Sports. Coverage that connects.
Now, that said, we've also heard from a lot of people that the Steelers are very interested in the running back position. We've also heard from this guy joining me right now that there are the defensive linemen, and then there are the running backs in this class. I'm joined by Chris Halleck, of course, out in Indianapolis. Chris, is it that way? Is that the hierarchy here positionally?
Well, I mean, the best position in the class overall is tight end, but the Steelers don't necessarily need a tight end. So, but when you're talking about the next
For
two,
Pittsburgh, yeah.
right? When you're talking about the next two positions, even regardless of what the Steelers need, I would put defensive tackle and running back as 2 and 3. So, yeah, running back is definitely up there in terms of strengths when you're talking about just overall depth of the class, and there will be options in every single round. This is even a position I'm not completely opposed to them double dipping in it. I mean, I understand Jaylen Warren's probably going to come back, but you might as well take, if you get a guy on day 2, round 2 or round 3, maybe there's a guy in the 7th round that maybe somehow fell because of medical issues or character issues or whatever that probably should have been taken in the 4th or the 5th round. Then yeah, I don't mind double dipping in this class. It's a really strong position.
Now, let's talk about what that profile might look like. Because the one thing that you'd have to consider if you're the Steelers is that you have a Jaylen.
Yeah.
And unlike most other positions on the football field, you're not necessarily looking for guys that are similar. You might be looking for somebody who's polar opposite. Do you think that the Steelers would be looking toward a power type guy? Think about what there are many shortcomings on offense. One of them was that they couldn't get 3rd and 1, 4th and 1 converted. Mm-hmm. I don't know that Jaylen's great at that. He's not a big guy. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Well, somebody else totally agreed with me, apparently, out there in Indianapolis. That was just a riot. I don't think of Jaylen as that guy. I actually don't know that I really think of Najee as that guy either, because he wasn't particularly great at it either.
Yeah.
But, is that what you're looking at if you're the Steelers? Are you looking for a power guy?
I think that's on the table. I don't think really anything's off the table right now, because in from one perspective, yeah, you could get another power guy, and there are a couple of them. North Carolina's Amarian Hampton. He's a really, really good running back. He's probably going to be. I've seen him mocked in the first round, like later in the first round. I've seen him mocked in the 2nd round. He's probably not going to last any longer than that. And then a little deeper down the class, out of Miami, Florida, you got Damian Martinez, who was at the Senior Bowl, and he's one of those rare power guys that can also like catch the football out of the backfield. And so when you're talking about that, that's why it's interesting. The thing for me when it comes to that, the other side of this, is are they versatile enough to play within the current system? Can they run to the perimeter? Can they run wide zone, outside zone, what Arthur Smith likes to run? Because we've seen this happen now with Najee, and he didn't have that ability to do that consistently. Happened at times when the blocking was really good and he didn't have to really put a foot in the ground and go. He could just kind of run downhill.
That wasn't often.
No. And so that's the part that concerns me, because, like, for example, looking at Martinez out of Miami's system is very, very much in between the tackles, downhill, vertical. That's how they run. And he did great doing that. How is he going to do if he has to run sideways? And so for a 4th round pick, I'd be more than willing to take it, but we're trying to still kind of figure out what exactly the Steelers are going to prioritize at running back.
Well, then the other component that weighs into this, you would think is, as soon as you said, so-and-so might be a 1st rounder, so-and-so might be whatever, is that there's almost this phobia in football right now about 1st round running backs. And I'm excluding on purpose someone who's legitimately special, like a Saquon Barkley, where you just say, okay, well, that's just a game changer. And of course he has proven to be that when he's healthy. But if you're the Steelers, do you have a little bit of that phobia lingering, whether it's from the football world as a whole or just from, not that they got burned by Najee. You get 5 years out of a guy. And this man, people use the term bust way too loosely.
It's not a bust,
Najee's an actual NFL running back.
Yeah.
I don't know that anybody even expected at the time that he was drafted, because he didn't have that breakaway ability that he was going to end up being, Derrick Henry or something. But if you're the Steelers, does that maybe kind of like make you cringe a little bit? Like, 1st round, really? Why don't we just make sure that we hang on for something in the 2nd or 3rd, or like you said, even the later rounds?
I don't think that it is something that Omar Khan and Andy Weidel I don't think that's a position that they're going to prioritize when you're talking about premium draft picks, such as first-round draft picks. Now, I do believe that they would make an exception because there was one mock draft from NFL.com in which Boise State's Ashton Genty fell all the way to 21. And I'm telling you right now, if that happened, they better run to the podium to get that guy, because if you're talking about the possible next LaDainian Tomlinson, that's him. Run to the podium if that happens. Shoot,
would you trade up for him?
If he's there at like 17 or 18, yes, I would. He is that special of a running back. It's like him, and this is a great class, but it's like him and then everybody else below him. He's a special guy. I don't think he gets that far. I don't think he gets past Dallas at 12, so I don't think that matters. I wouldn't trade up that far to get him. But I think it depends on the running back. Like overall, just because of what happened with Najee, doesn't necessarily mean that you absolutely no way can ever take a running back. Because like I said, if that situation plays out, you absolutely take Genty at 21. But
I happen to notice that Justin Fields and Genty were both at a basketball game for the NBA franchise that's based in Atlanta. Uh-huh. And I don't know if they were there together or if the pictures were, just twin together or what. I don't know if they're buddies or whatever. It doesn't matter. I'm just throwing it out there. That's the kind of stuff that when you start getting closer to the draft, they start getting really goofy with that sort of dialogue. Ooh, so-and-so, they went and ate dinner together and now they're going to be sharing secrets and everything, or their basketball game together. Chris, the running back position in general, how much has it been responsible? And I'm not going to exclude Jalen from this. How much has it been responsible for the offense's inability to do what everybody wants it to do? I mean, we always talk about the line, and we really talk about the quarterback, not so much about the running backs. It's almost like we think they're exempt from this.
No, they're not exempt from it. I mean, Najee obviously had his inconsistencies. And then Jalen, I think the biggest thing with Jalen, and it continues to kind of be a thing, it doesn't happen as often as it did at first, but the ball security issues are still kind of there. I mean, I think about that run against Washington. Now they won the game. They ended up escaping out of that with the walk-off touchdown to Mike Williams. But, there was that point in the game where Steelers were driving down the field. They needed to score, and Jalen fumbled inside the 5. That kind of stuff can't happen. That was at least one thing.
It can't, but that one pushes a button with me, because Jalen's lost 3 fumbles in 3 seasons, and I feel like people talk about him like he's Butterfingers or something.
He's not Butterfingers, no.
And Najee's lost 4 in that time, obviously in a lot more carries and more touches. Yeah. And Najee had the biggest, most damaging fumble of the season by a zillion miles, and they didn't even credit him with it. Like, they took it away. They gave it to Russ, which even he had a good laugh about later in the week when he found out at practice. I didn't mean to cut you off. I get it. I just don't see enough evidence to support the idea that he's like, oh no, I can't handle the football. I think he puts himself into some tough spots with that. Yeah. Think about the one fumble he had this season where he just held on to it for an eternity. He had 7 guys on him trying to bring him down. He refused to go down. Mm-hmm. Ball came out. Yeah. I know that's part of fumbling, but still.
No, I definitely get that, because it's definitely not your typical. It's not Fitzgerald Toussaint in the 2015 playoffs. It's not that. No,
I don't think we can mention Fitz on here, can we?
I don't think it's anything like that, obviously, but it's honestly exactly what you talked about. It's knowing when, the one great thing about Jalen Warren is his contact balance, and he's able to take contact and still stay up and get more yards. But when you get to a certain point, you have to know when to just live to fight another down, and because then you do risk possibly fumbling the football, because once you get stood up and you're not going anywhere, guess what's going to happen? They're going to start trying to rip the ball out, and that's what's happened before.
When we come back, J1Q.
Safety is a habit, gun safety and responsible storage are no different. Help prevent gun accidents, misuse, and theft. Keep firearms safe and secure when not in use. For safe storage options, visit projectchildsafe.org.
Time now for today's J1Q. That stands for just one question.
Hey, it's Stan from North Carolina, DK. Again, I have another question. We all know a lot happens at the combine. We know the typical stuff put on video. What are the other things that may happen that we don't know of? We know they meet with players, but if all the brass is there, there's a lot of other things that have to be going on that may not meet the normal person's eye.
This term that they have in the NFL for the tampering period, as I've heard it called. And when I say I've heard it called, I mean I've heard it called that within the industry. There's so much tampering that happens in football. I don't know that it exceeds what there is in other sports, but it's at least tied for first. There's so much that goes on. There's so many different ways to do it. It doesn't have to be, for example, not that I'm accusing Omar Khan of this, but it doesn't have to be Omar getting on the horn with a potential free agent. Hey, everybody. I'm Omar. I'm here to talk to you about, It's so-and-so says to a player who knows the cousin of this guy or that guy, engages potential interest. And there's so much that goes on. There are very few secrets in this regard. And because so many teams are so guilty, there isn't even really finger pointing that emerges from it, which is crazy. So, yes, there are moves that get made kind of in advance, especially as it relates to free agents. But there are also, and this part does get discussed openly because this is totally legal, the stage is set for trades there. We have seen that with the Steelers specifically in recent years. Look, it's not an accident that when the open market takes place in the NFL, that you have deals signed like this. And actually, even before that, the tampering period, it's just the store opens and everybody's bursting through the doors and the deals are already done. Wow, that was a quick negotiation. No, it wasn't. It took a while, and it starts out at the combine. Another thing regarding the combine, though, that not a lot of people think about or talk about that ends up being really, really impactful are the physicals, are the medicals, not the stuff that you see on ESPN or wherever, where it's basically the meat market on display, the 40-yard dash and everything else. I'm talking about really digging into players' history. This is where players like, for example, Peyton Wilson really get scoped and really get found out. What is his actual status? They will never have been examined the way they get examined at the combine. There's other stuff that happens that's behind the scenes, but I would say that those are the two main ones. And I got to tell you, I'm not somebody who's really into watching the combine and whoa, look at that 40. Oh my God, for a guy that big or whatever, or look at that arm length or something. I'm not into that. I'd much rather watch on live TV the GMs talking to each other, right? Wouldn't that be cool? I appreciate you, Stan. I appreciate everybody checking out the new Double Shot Show. We're going to do another one of these tomorrow to close out Combine Week.